Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditative practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week, it's all about reflection, of shaping your light, so to speak. We'll take light as a single particle, a photon moving through space, through atmosphere, and interacting with some simple physical objects. This is not a representational drawing of, say, shade and shadow caused by light in its absence on a surface, but more a drawing of the mechanisms present there in the light. Our journey will just travel with that single photon, and we'll bounce it, reflect it around a space, building up some density and interaction. As we do the exercise, you may see opportunities to guide the bounce of this line into a shape, or you may just let it flow out with a bit of randomness, the moment of drawing, each moment, its own time, and its own consequences reflected there on the paper. As we draw, there'll be plenty of moments of reflection, a chance to repeat the technique, a chance to just be there present with the drawing, with the breath, let it encompass your focus into this world, your presence there, and maybe open up space for some thoughts. Let them flow with the line, let them move with the breath, bounce, reflect, change as they interact with the more complex network of the mind. I use primarily just a black ink pen, shows up well on the page, flows nice, enjoying the process of interaction with the paper. Piece of Bristol here, but anything will work. Sketchbook, sketchpad, small note card, large desk surface, it all will let you move your hand around and draw, and we adjust to the space that's given. Probably bring a little bit of pencil in later on and maybe play around with thickness or the heaviness and density of the line, just as a way to reflect changes that come up during the play of our exercise. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. The main driver or impetus during the exercise will be one of reflection, maybe a bit direct and literal reflection, thinking about the movement of a ray similar to a light and how it might interact with some simple shapes or elements we place in the environment, and let that build up into a drawing. So as a little warm-up on a scrap piece of paper, the back of a page or something, start just by thinking about a ray of something. They generally travel in a straight line. With light, there may be many roughly parallel photons bouncing around, and at some point they can hit a surface. That surface could be just thought of as a little rectangle or something. Could be anything you'd like to draw, and every material or surface will have a different incidence of reflection, the angle that stuff bounces off. It's not super important, the specifics, but if you draw a line roughly perpendicular to that surface, you can kind of reflect that ray around the line, let it travel for a little while, and then draw another potential surface for that particle to bounce off of. Think about where its center is, reflect roughly the same angle around the two, and continue on and on, guiding a little bit with the eye, the way you place the surface, and letting it unfold across the page. We'll start there, let it bounce around for a while, see if we get some interesting intersections, or if you want to guide towards the shape or anything as you get used to it. But drawing all the parts of the interaction, letting each one unfold on its own, and just taking our time with each so it builds slowly to something more on the paper. With that in mind, the idea of reflection might bring up some other things and thoughts. It's letting them take in some of the space between those times of drawing out a line, forming a shape, considering its direction and orientation, and letting the breath wash through those in-between times, things that come up or bounce up, flow back out again. So anywhere on a page, a sketchbook, piece of paper, notebook, anything like that, take a moment to find the place to start that first journey of a ray, maybe up to down, or just where the hand feels comfortable. If you can move your page like I was doing with the paper in the warm-up, feel free to do that. Otherwise, take your time dealing with the orientation you have. A couple of breaths just to settle. Normal breaths in and out, noticing them. And then with a location selected to begin, take a breath in. And as you're ready, make that first ray start its journey. And as the breath wanes out and the hand has moved a comfortable distance, it ends. Whatever length that becomes, it could be long, short, all over the place. It's kind of an infinite ray. And now we have a start and an end, and either place there can be a moment of reflection. Consider a bit of where you'll draw it a little bit off of perpendicular, so it doesn't just bounce back on itself. And make your shape into a small rectangle. Even just a line would work. Give it a little bit of physical presence by capturing some more of the paper there. Then, in analysis, kind of looking at the direction of the shape and making a light line perpendicular, roughly wherever the ray happens to touch it. It doesn't have to be in the center. It'll bounce from anywhere. And using the eye to kind of look at the angle, set it in your eye on the other direction, and as you're ready, breathing in to establish the form, and exhaling as you let the ray bounce and move across the page for a little while. A lot of little pieces, do them one piece at a time at the beginning, and then slowly incorporate them into each other, move at a quicker pace if you like. But for now, between each one, the breath in to reestablish, to consider orientation, and form out that mechanism of reflection. Consider where its center is and give it a light mark. Notice the angle. Position yourself to bounce around. And as you're ready, breathe in and at the exhalation, take the ray continuing on its journey. At first, just some mirrors or surfaces bouncing it along. You may begin to see a shape and guide it, or just allow each moment to be just that case. What orientation feels right to form the next reflective surface. Find that angle of incidence with the surface. Get out on the page, recording the interaction and positioning yourself for another cycle of deep inhalation and expressive exhalation. And depending on your orientation, the way you can position yourself relative to the page and the length of that breath cycle, they may begin to vary in length. Some ways a little more challenging to draw than others, or just awkward to the hand. That'll give a uniqueness to each path in the journey. As we're opening up that pace a little bit, becoming familiar with the technique, drawing out the reflective shape as you see its orientation in the mind and then framed on the page, going through the steps of noticing the angle, by drawing the geometry, breathing to reflect. just let those moments in between offer you an opportunity of perhaps reflection, quietness, just seeing that moment on the paper, the end of a line, guiding the position of a shape, the relationship between those two, starting the next journey through the paper, the breath, a guiding presence, the time it takes to reorient to the new location, a chance to take it in, to see potential movements, to notice things in your general field. It might just be mostly the paper. It might be the feeling of the pen, pencil in your hand, perhaps sounds around you. It's the repetition of the moments, each a little different, but the general application becomes ingrained in our relationship here with the page. We open up a little those things around us. Through breeze or traffic at the window, perhaps a pet or another person doing their things. Maybe some light music somewhere, or just some birds. It's the hand and the eye merge in their repetition of action. We open up the other senses a little bit. The decision to make at each moment is placing shape, connecting two lines, a surface and a ray, establishing their relationship and letting it unfold through the space. And perhaps there's even some opportunity as we gain density to allow things to interact again. If one ray moves back into the field of a shape and rebounds. You might get then some times where they cross. A new relationship bounces back across its path. Maybe an opportunity to change the character of the line. One newer, one on top, one older, one in the back. Maybe a change in thickness or intensity, change in pen or pencil, a recording of that interaction. Keep working through the cycles, returning to the breath from time to time to let it become synchronized with our interaction. Familiarity of the exhale on the drawing out of a line. The space of an inhale as we move between moments of action. Using that filling out of space to take in the surroundings, to make the quick visual decision of where to draw the next shape, and riding the exhalation as that's formed through a few natural breaths. Breathing in is a reminder to mark the relationship between shape and line. Breathing in to see the angle and set yourself up for the next journey. Starting the cycle again. Maybe you begin to notice places to guide that bouncing ray, or maybe things bounce a little too close and get cut off, too dense. You can always begin again from the start point or the other end point of the first line, or from any other place. The technique guiding itself. You can take a few minutes with this well established to draw in the space you've made, find new relationships to the uncertain or unpredicted, the arbitrary, and the gentle guiding as both the eye works and some randomness takes place. Looking for opportunities to provide variation, play, thickness of a line as it crosses one before, change in medium at any time, even playing with the reflector shape. They may grow and combine. They could take curves or other forms. It's just the surface that the bouncing ray interacts with causes it to keep its journey going. Take a few moments just to draw and fill out more territory, building the density. Creating new relationships in the space of the page that we can draw into. It's the stillness of the forming and the drawing, noticing what comes into mind. You're drawn to things within the drawing, guided towards anything of the shape. Noticing some spaces between things. Do other thoughts creep up? The mind quiet through the repetition. And this journey can keep winding its way through, finding new bounces, finding its way back around, maybe to the beginning, getting more familiar with the guiding of that light bouncing through. If you're free to keep it bouncing along, start new journeys, look deeper in the space of the drawing. Perhaps giving some difference in materiality to the reflectors or the lights, or just drawing into what it's made between things, the overlaps, crisscrosses, or shapes it's forming And taking some time with the drawing, it's shaped a new world of interaction on the page. Just treat it as it is, territory of gentle rules, giving figure to a line, every part of its interaction drawn, shaped. See the reflectors, the rectangles, some heavier object, something with solidness perhaps. Bring a pencil or a pen and fill their space inside to make them more dense, the guiders of the path. Perhaps the lines of incidents, the ones that redirect and describe the interaction of the single particle moving and the solid objects bouncing, can become just lines drawn lightly in another way, taking their own journey. It's a set of geometric relationships. The initial impetus, that guiding interaction point stretched out to a line, shape, a solid surface for bouncing, now gets absorbed into the whole space opened up in the drawing. New things can happen. The behavior changing, the way we see the whole page. We draw into what we've created from our own reading, our own background of how we use a pen or pencil, the things it represents to us. Maybe a figure, maybe a technical relationship. Maybe a way to draw lines. We let our own minds' interpretation take over the drawing. Considering perhaps if there are some rules there to follow. Do solids remain solid and things pass through the logic to the world of the page that later on still may read or be reinforced by our decisions? But in the world of pen or pencil, that flat virtual world of paper and our imagination, anything could potentially happen. So notice where your constraints may lie, where you break the rules. Where you can reinforce them or change them. And take a couple of minutes more just to draw into that space, form out a world of interactions, maybe even a little story about that journey and the space between things. closing out of the exercise. Free to continue drawing a little bit, finishing up ideas, trajectories that you've set in motion. But as you feel ready to bring the pen slowly to rest, we'll take some time to look at what's happening in the world. To notice perhaps some things that you do in your relationship to the page. There's something here forming for me in a 45 angle. And then there's plenty of chaos, but a little trajectory at the edge. Maybe it's the position of the body. Maybe it's a way you're used to drawing for a certain technique or condition. It could be a lot of things slowly revealing themselves as we go through those incremental steps of finding a position, establishing orientation and direction, following through with that direction, breathing through the steps. That all those little bits sometimes take up our mind and we fall back into things we've built up before. Or perhaps it's just a chance for it to flutter and be all over the randomness, creating something unique and new. As you're ready, take a couple of final breaths, filling out the whole ribcage and torso, just letting it expand forward and back, letting it expand with each breath, up, down. Side to side, outwards, taking up a little space around you. And then the exhalations, sinking into that space provided, finding a nice, comfortable territory to sit relaxed. As we give ourselves some of that space and time for reflection, for noticing things about ourselves, or thinking back on the interactions that shape our day, maybe we see some patterns of our own. Here in the drawing, I start to notice directions that I'm more comfortable drawing. Maybe it's just my position, standing here, a fixed piece of paper. Certain angles are a little easier to interact with. Certain angles are more natural to me due to my training. The kind of 45 or 60, 30 degree angles relative to the body, or what my eyes see, what they're guided to shape the world. They don't have much relevance here in the context of this map or this territory, but they still show up. And there's plenty of variation, wiggle, and difference that also plays out. But some of those moments stand out to my eye, give me a space to reflect on how I see drawing as a tool, and maybe some of them open up for you. Do you favor shapes? Do you favor a more consistent order? Or do you allow the uncertainty and wiggliness to take over? All of them, the normal outcomes of the drawing, and that interesting opportunity to see more here than there ever really was. Just some lines, just a couple of shapes. They connect and make new relationships throughout the page, and our mind fills in the gaps. But I am enjoying the drawing more and more as I look at it after the exercise. Something suggestive in there to me. You may find your own thing, but I want to spend a little more time with it, look into the spaces between, tease something out, see where it goes. And that's what these exercises can be really interesting for. Sometimes we don't know where to begin. We just start line as a point, taking a journey, as Paul Clay says, and see where it ends up. I'd love it if you would let me know what you find in the exercise. Share a little bit in the comments of the video. You can find me at Rooks is Fun on Instagram. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more weekly videos on different mindful drawing practices. You can look back through the archive and find hundreds of ways to start a drawing, to engage with your inner presence, and let that unfold out onto the page as a way of expressing your creativity. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and draw well. Thank you.